States of glottis. That's an important discussion while describing laryngeal activity and phonation. Glottis is basically the space between larynx, okay, when the vocal folds are moving, right? So the space that is called glottis. And the status of glottis, that's an important point for the description of speech sounds, right? So there are mainly four important positions which are discussed. These are modifications, basically, of the laryngeal activity, right? But that's not the point that only four possibilities are there, because it's dependent upon the nature of language or the description of language, which makes the position, a particular position of larynx important, right? Like, for example, in the case of English language, two positions are important, right? When the glottis is in voicing shape, right? And when it is in voiceless shape. So because in English, we have got two phonemic variations, voice sounds and voiceless sounds, right? There is also a third possibility, but that's not phonemic, like the aspirated sound, right? So two possibilities for English, but there are languages in which it goes more than two, right? It goes up to a third or fourth possibility, or maybe in some cases, fifth possibility, right? So these are the modifications. These are the positions which are assumed by the glottis. Glottis is an important part in the description of a speech sound, because without describing the position of glottis or the position of larynx, we may not be able to fully describe a speech sound. So that's quite important. And we also, from the book, which is our textbook, we know that four positions are given by Leda, Fogel, and Johnson in our textbook. So let me just show you those possible four positions of larynx and the states of glottis here, right? So the first one is this voiced position, right? Voiced position, when these void bands, which are vocal folds basically, these are vocal folds, when they are together and the sounds are called voiced, right? The example is like b or g, right? So if you just feel the position of your larynx in sounds like b, g, the position is this one, which is voiced position. The second possibility is this glottis, right? This is called glottis, this space, when it is there and when the free air passage is allowed through the glottis, right? And the vocal folds, they are apart, right? They are apart and the air is allowed freely, right? So in this case, the possibility is that the sounds are voiceless, okay? Like in the case of p and k, right? So these are voiceless sounds. And the third possibility of the glottis is when murmuring sound is there. Murmuring is basically, in very simple sense, murmuring is when the vocal folds are apart, but it is still vibrating, right? The glottis is still vibrating, right? If you just compare it with the voiced position, in the case of voiced position, they are vibrating, but the vocal folds are together. They are closely tightened, right? But in the case of murmuring, the air passage is allowed freely, but still there is vibration. So the sound is called murmuring, right? And then there is a fourth possibility given by Leda, Fogel, and Johnson, that the vocal folds, they are closely tightened together except for the one corner, right? Because there is the crack inside it, right? So this is one corner where the air is allowed to come, and then the sound is produced, which is called creaky voice, right? For the creaky voice, this one possibility is there, that the air is allowed to come out of larynx in one corner, right? So these are four possibilities which are very common and which are very, needed for the description of speech sounds. Although there are some other possibilities like the whispering, which is a little bit different than murmuring, right? Or the breathy sound, when the voice sounds are created, or breathy are also called modal ones, but we would discuss them in some other session, right?